Good morning and welcome to Trail Grazers, where we focus on great food on the trail and share our trips with you in our trailer and in our car, and whatever it is that we do, we take you along with us. So we have just come home from our first winter car trip. It was an overnight trip to Marble Canyon, and I hope all of you have enjoyed that video. We ended up having to film that video 2 different times. The first 2 days were getting there, staying overnight at the top of a mountain at 9,000 feet, and then the second day was to go down the mountain and through the Navajo Indian Reservation to Marble Canyon and then around to Lake Powell. Well, the weather report had said we knew we were probably that we were likely to get snow at the top of the mountain, but that it would be partly sunny the following day, so we figured it would be okay. Well, the sun was nowhere to be seen the second day, and all of our photography on that second day going down the mountain and around to Lake Powell and through Marble Canyon was ridiculously foggy and dreary. So we waited a couple of days for the weather to clear, and then we just took a day and went back and redid the last half of the video on a very beautiful blue sky day. So we learned a lot with this first trip. As you know, we had prepared a kitchen box, which later became a kitchen suitcase, and we were trying out a whole lot of things, including eating meals in our hotel room. So here is a list of the things that we have learned. We hope that it will be helpful to you as well. First of all, we did check the weather. We were prepared for the weather. Jim has had lots of experience driving in snow. I have too, but we took my truck with the diesel engine for better traction on the snowy roads, and everything was just fine. We did not count on having really nasty weather for the second day. What we also learned was that even though we knew that check-in time was 3 o'clock, most hotels will let you check in a little bit early, within an hour or a few minutes early. And while we were not counting on that, we arrived about a quarter after 2 and hoped to get in. And they would not let us in. They were firm on that. And the interesting thing was there was not a telephone number that we could find. There was not an email address we could find. We went through Expedia, a third party, even to get our reservation. We were the only guests in that hotel for the whole entire night. And that really caused some problems. Now, fortunately, we were prepared with food and things that we needed, because there were really issues. You know, if you say that you're going to accept guests, then you need to prepare for guests, even if it's only one guest. Well, we felt that they didn't really do a great job of that. There were no appliances in the room. So there was no microwave, no refrigerator, no coffee maker. There was no Kleenex. And there was no phone. Now, the only thing that really bothered us was the fact that there was no phone, because, you know, we're older and we were at 9,000 feet, and we had to drive what you saw at the front of the video, where it gave the name of the place, which was Jacob Lake Inn. That building is just the huge gift shop and the hotel lobby. You have to drive around behind a gas station and quite a ways down to get to where their little hotel is. And it's a little 2-story building with probably, Jim, what would you say, 20 rooms in it, maybe? And so we were quite far removed, and it was snowing. There was about 2 feet of snow on the ground in the areas that had not been plowed. And had we had any kind of an emergency, we would not have been able to call the front desk. We had our iPhones and we had service, but that was the only contact we had. They told us that the grill would be open the next morning for breakfast if we wanted, and we hadn't planned on eating breakfast. We were going to be in their restaurant. We were just going to eat our own food, and the next morning the grill was closed. The lights were off. The little store that they had for snacks and foods like most hotel lobbies, it was closed from the get-go. They announced that it was closed, and so we couldn't pick up anything. We didn't need to, but it could have been an inconvenience for somebody. And the lights were all off, so it didn't even look like they were open. It was a little creepy being the only guest and feeling like, oh my gosh, there's nobody else around. So anyway, that was, we learned that what we would really rather do is to stay in a place where there would be more people joining us. We were isolated and up in the mountains at that time. When we arrived in our room, it was freezing cold. They had not turned the heat on for probably days. And so it took quite a while for the room to get up to heat. I was really, really glad that at the last minute, I just said, wait a minute, I'm going to grab our fleece throw. Now, this is just an old pillowcase, but this is a fleece throw that Jim and I, oh my gosh, it was 4 or 5 months ago, we walked into Costco and they were selling these giant fleece throws. This is a king-size throw. And we were so glad to have this because the bedspread or quilt that was on our bed was not adequate warmth for us to sleep in. So we just threw that over the top of our bed, and that just worked absolutely great. Another thing that we learned was, and we know from our days of traveling all over the country and other parts of the world to go to conferences as part of our university jobs, that hotels have different way of approaching. And of course, our universities were paying for our trips, and so we stayed in kind of nice hotels, but we always carry computers and have a lot of things that need plugging in. And so taking enough power banks and power strips was really important for us, and we did fine. I have a couple of solar power banks that I plugged iPhone in and that sort of thing. But what we learned personally for our needs, and may not be your need, is that we needed one of those safe power strips with a 15-foot cord to reach in case there's just one plug-in someplace. And then we want to be really safe with that. And then, as in many hotels, the lights were so dim. And I like a lot of light when I work at my computer or whatever. A lot of people don't, but I do. And so one of the lessons that we learned is we will be traveling in our car trips with this. And we have shown this over on Rose Red. This is an off-grid. It's a solar light, just as clever as can be. So it charges solar here or through a wall outlet. And then it also has an output. Here's the input and then the output for a regular USB device. We could have plugged our iPhones in here had we wanted. So this is one thing, and this goes dim and then it goes light again. And so we certainly will be traveling with that light. Now, in terms of our kitchen suitcase was well stocked with what we needed. We were really pleased with that. We didn't have a great deal of needs and not a lot of diversity of needs this particular time. One of the things that did happen, though, in my little cleaning packet right here, that's where I keep all of the things that I would need to wash dishes or whatever. This is my Stearamine packed in a plastic bag. This is a new spray bottle because the spray bottle we got at the dollar store failed miserably, leaked all over the place. So I bought one that is leak-proof. It was a little bit more expensive, but it will be traveling with us from now on. So that was one thing. Everything else worked just really, really well. Out of this kitchen pack, we used our little foil pans. They worked perfectly for cooking our dinner. I don't think we even opened up our plates. I think we just ate right out of here. Yeah, and so that worked really well. The little tablecloth that you saw, the blue tablecloth, worked just great. It's plastic, and we showed it in the video, and I just spray it off with Stearamine, wipe it dry, and then fold it back up. It worked just great. Then we also packed up our own trash in our own trash bag, carried that with us out of there. So we think that our first experience with doing a meal in a hotel room worked just great. So we were pleased with that, even though they didn't have any appliances. We had everything that we needed. We used our little car oven to heat the foil packets and had quite a nice meal. The other good thing was I didn't do any dishwashing. Everything that we used from our pack was completely disposable, so that was great. Now, in terms of food, I think here's where we learned our most important lessons. Dinner in the hotel room worked just great. We had everything we needed to prepare the dinner. It took 2 hours to warm it up, so that was not a problem at all. But for breakfast, I had brought these little instant oatmeal packets. This one is blueberry. So you see, I use a 6-grain cereal down here, and I have a recipe for this. And we have a video on this very thing over on Rose Red Homestead. These are the greatest things. I keep these in our cabinet all the time. We just pull them down, put 2/3 of a cup of water in, put it in the microwave for 1 minute, bring it out, put the lid back on, let it sit for 5 minutes, and there's breakfast. So this is what we had planned. Only I didn't take it in glass. I took two of those and put them in plastic bags so that we could carry them better. So here's Jim's with his little container of honey that he likes for sweetener. And we woke up that next morning to snow. And if you saw the video, you saw me standing out there with the snow coming down all around. And so we were at 9,000 feet with snow coming down. We wanted to get on the road and get out of there. So what that taught me about breakfast was, and that hotel did not have a complimentary breakfast at all. Surprise, surprise. And so we just skipped breakfast. And a lot of times in the morning, Jim and I are not hungry anyway, so it was not a big deal for us. But I did learn that it would be a good idea to carry some kind of thing like an egg muffin frittata or something like that doesn't need heating, that we could just eat in the car if necessary. On day 2, after leaving the hotel, we had planned to eventually get around to Lake Powell, and we knew a place where we could stop. There's a picnic table there, and we would have our lunch there. I really missed the mark on that one. What I planned for lunch on that day was pita sandwiches, but I packed all of the things separately so nothing would get soggy. And so the pita was in one bag, and then all of the fixings were in one of our little salad containers. And what we would have had to do was to find a place with a picnic table, get our little salad boxes out, then fill the pita with it, spread it with the spread that I had there, and then fill all the things in and sit at the table and eat. Well, it was raining, it was snowing, it was foggy. We weren't about to get out of the car and find a picnic table and do all that with the rain coming down. And so we skipped lunch. But we have in each of our vehicles an emergency snack bucket. And so we just opened that snack bucket and ate snacks instead of having a lunch. And we were, at that point in time, 2 hours away from home, and so it was not that big of a deal. When we did the repeat trip and ended up eating lunch, this time we ate at Marble Canyon, where Navajo Bridge is, and they had little tables there. It was a much better day. And I had packed a salmon salad. And that one we could have managed in the car because it was just open it, take the upper tray, dump into the salad in the lower tray, open up the salad dressing, put it around, and we could have sat in the car and eaten had we needed to, so that was great. But one of the things that I learned about lunches was that part of our lunch was in a food box. Part of our lunch was in the refrigerator. And we had to scramble around, opening things up, unzipping stuff to get our lunches. So from now on, I am going to have, in addition to all of the other stuff that we schlep everywhere we go, I think this will really help out because this is a little insulated bag. It's made especially for carrying your groceries home from the grocery store, but it's insulated, thinly insulated on the inside. And so when we leave a hotel room at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning, I could put cold things in here and they would be fine until noon. But I also have some things that I will carry all the time in here. I had to have ready to go, so all we do is add the food. So here is a pack of paper towels. Here are some little wet ones for sticky hands and fingers. And then here is a repeat of our little tablecloth that works so well. And so I have now 2 of these, and one of them is permanently in our lunch bag. And then I have some packets of salt and pepper. So all I would have to do is just put in the food right here. And then when we stop for lunch, we're set to go. We take the food out, put the tablecloth down, and boom, we're ready to go. So I'm really pleased that finally, and I'm sure some of you already do this, it takes me longer to come to decisions sometimes. One of the things that, also that I began to think about, we traveled this trip in the wintertime along highways that are quite deserted in wide open spaces. Well, we do a lot of our traveling in the summertime as well, both with our trailer, and we're going to be doing just more car trips. It is not a good idea to think about traveling in the desert with dry conditions and sometimes heat or freezing cold situations without being prepared with emergency extras. One of those things is I realized we needed to have an emergency food box. I'm set up for emergency things out in our trailer, but with our car trip, all I had was food for the day with our snack bucket as backup, and that was it. So for a future video, I'm going to be putting together a little box of food, probably 3 days worth of food that we can just carry with us in the car. And we do have our emergency car pack with some MREs, so we would have been okay for another day. But I think I want to be more intentional about what it is I'm packing for our emergency food for these road trips. Then the last thing is, again, we are traveling mostly in the desert. So having extra water is critically important. We always travel with water. We have traveled with cases of little individual drinking bottles of water, but our water here at the house is so good. I mean, it is the best water in any house we have ever had, so we are very blessed that way. So we carry extra water with us. We will be doing that from now on. This is 5 gallons that we will have as extra backup emergency water. In addition to, I have a water bottle with me everywhere I go. And so in addition to my water bottle, we now will have this as well. So I think we learned some pretty important things, and we will do nothing but improve as we make more and more of these trips. And keep your suggestions coming because we have learned so much from you. We went with our kitchen box is a good example of we went from pretty naive packing to a lot of really good suggestions from our audience. We improved that box, and then right before we left, we moved it into a suitcase because of another suggestion. So that is what a learning community is, and we think we have a magnificent learning community where sometimes we're the students and you're the teachers. And so we're looking forward. I'm itching for spring to get here. I still want winter because we need a lot more of the rain and snow that comes to our area with wintertime. And so I don't want to sidestep that. But we're anxious for spring. I'm already thinking about trips coming up with our trailer. So more to come. And thank you so much for being with us. And please share our channel with others that you think might enjoy it as well. And we will see you again very soon with another video.